What are the nuances that we're perhaps not seeing in what is a very impressive headline unemployment number rate and the number of jobs that are being restored?
Well, certainly there's a lot of job vacancies at the moment. So they're up actually 29% year on year. So while the number of people employed in Australia has remained relatively flat year on year, we've got the people basically back into jobs. There's a lot of businesses that need people, need talent, particularly in areas like construction, healthcare, professional services, engineering and so forth. There's a big need for talent, and so people might be heading online to find that talent.
Have you seen the impact of the JobKeeper program being removed? Because I'm wondering if, even if the headline numbers return, there are structural changes as a result of what we've gone through with COVID and with borders still being closed.
Well, I think it's too soon to tell. It's only been removed fully, I think, on the 28th of March. And so I think we're going to start seeing that reflected in some of the numbers. I think that the world of work has changed online in a big way. People have found ways to supplement their income online, whether it be starting business online or working online and what have you. And I think it'll be really interesting to see over the next few months how the numbers play out.
The border closure issue, are you seeing more demand because we don't have the usual amount of foreign workers to fill some of those roles?
In Australia, there's a desperate need as online is booming. I mean, this is not just happening in Australia, it's happening in the US. People are building online businesses. You're seeing it in the Australian markets. While they've come off a little bit, businesses like Kogan, Temple & Webster and so forth, anyone selling online has done very, very, very well. And now businesses have changed structurally to change more of their sales to come from online. So we're certainly seeing a huge demand for developers, graphic designers, marketers and so forth.
What will the future of work look like post-pandemic?
Well, I think Pandora's box is open. I mean, COVID has been the great work online experiment globally. We're seeing a lot of, generally across the C-suite from Fortune 500, we're seeing that the C-suite is saying we don't know whether it's 5%, 10%, 15% or 25%, but in the future, some percentage of our workforce will be coming on from the internet. And we're not sure if that's 1 year away, 3 years away, 5 years away, or 10 years away pre-pandemic, but we know COVID has accelerated everything. So we are seeing a lot more interest in hiring online, deploying infrastructure to hire online, and certainly three major things are happening more broadly. One is more people are looking for work online. Secondly, businesses are looking to cut costs and to use the internet, certainly as tools have picked up and made it easier to hire online. And the third thing is a lot of businesses are starting, bridging both workers through the pandemic as well as businesses.
How open are employers to have more people work from home?
Well, I think right now it's impossible to force everyone back into the office, whether you want to or not. People have experienced working at home. They've got used to the tools. The tools have got better. It depends whether you're in a blue-collar job or a white-collar job. If you're a blue-collar job, you are probably getting back to work because you have to work physically on site in a building where you're doing construction, or whether you're working as a nurse in a healthcare arrangement or what have you. But with white-collar jobs, I think it'll be a permanent step change in terms of people wanting flexibility to work from home, and with the extreme competition for hiring skilled technical people in professional jobs, this is going to be something that employers are going to have to continue to offer.
You have been a bit scathing about last week's federal budget, saying that there's a lot of wishful thinking and big assumptions being made.
Well, there's a few things, right? So first of all, if you can get your head over the fact that in about 2 years from now, the Commonwealth will have about a net debt of about $1 trillion. There are a lot of wishful assumptions that are behind the budget. The first is that the vaccine strategy will work, which I think is, while there's glimmers of hope in places like Israel, where 60% of the population are vaccinated and we're seeing case numbers right down, there's a question of whether efficacy with the current vaccines will be high with new strains that are coming out. It relies on the assumption that we won't have big breaches from quarantine in Australia and won't have any lockdowns in the economy over the next year or so, which, every 106 cases or so we're bringing into the country, there has been a breach, so we're getting a breach every week or so. It's making assumptions that input costs won't rise massively, and we're seeing inflation across the board, whether you're talking lumber or copper or iron ore or what have you. And it's making assumptions that we're going to have geopolitical stability. And at the moment, there's flare-ups around the world, and there's a trade war going on with China. If you can get head around all of that, it's a big spending budget. It's certainly an election budget because it's targeting a whole bunch of demographics like at the aged, children, women, and so forth. I think it's better thought out than previous budgets, but it is big spending, and there will be ramifications for all this money printing in the years to come. And I think we haven't seen yet the peak of the impact of COVID because of the extreme money printing, which has really smoothed everything over.
We talk a lot about the movement and demand for goods recovering, trade recovering, right? What about the movement of people and talent and demand or availability of labour? Do you see permanent structural changes to this, Fortress Australia, our borders stay closed when it comes to attracting talent and the movement of people into the country or even out of the country?
Well, there is a great new program actually for bringing talent in at the top level. There's a globally significant visa where if you are in certain areas like fintech or ICT or ag tech and so forth, you can actually get PR remotely and come into the country within 30 days. And I've actually interviewed candidates that have actually managed to secure that visa. So there is some ability to bring some skilled talent in. Generally, we do have a shortage in the skilled areas even pre-COVID. Computer science and STEM generally has been a bit of a train wreck in terms of producing high quality graduates, and with about 50% of the workforce in comp sci has been from foreign graduates. So there is going to be an increasing need from that. I think one of the areas the budget missed, and I think generally the COVID response that we could have done better, would have been rather than pay people in the form of JobKeeper to stay in zombie companies, to pay them to go back into university or to pay them to go to trade schools. And I think particularly with trade schools, we have a real opportunity to elaborately transform the commodities that we basically dig out of the ground at the moment and just ship to China, and 39% of everything we produce goes to China, and instead elaborately transform them into higher end, higher margin goods. And to do that, we need advanced manufacturing, we need engineering, we need software, we need a bunch of things. And I think one of the fastest ways to upskill the economy is to put a lot of people into education, and 3 or 4 years later, they come out into higher earning jobs and start businesses, and I think it's greatly beneficial to the economy. At the moment, we rank about 87th in the Harvard Economic Complexity Index in terms of how sophisticated the things we produce are that we sell to the world. We rank behind Mauritius, Oman, Libya, and so forth. We're really low down, and that was when tourism was 17% of our exports. So I think we've got a real opportunity to skill people up and think about jobs for the future and transforming the economy.